to me, all you who are weary and carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Those are some of the most beloved and treasured verses in the Gospels. And it's especially good to hear them this July 4th weekend. As a nation, we are pretty weary, and we are carrying some heavy burdens. We're weary of the coronavirus pandemic, weary of staying home, of confinement and restriction, of wearing masks and constantly washing our hands, of anxiety and uncertainty. We're weary of our nation's political divisions and antagonism, of conspiracy theories, partisan attacks, biased rhetoric, and the seeming inability of our government to work cooperatively to accomplish much needed reforms. We're weary of corruption, of those in power who use it as an opportunity for their own benefit rather than for the common good. And people of color are weary of carrying the burdens of racism and injustice and oppression that have weighed them down for centuries. Now, granted, when our nation's founders crafted the Declaration of Independence and declared that all persons are created equal and endowed by our Creator with inalienable rights to life and liberty and happiness, well, we know they were really only talking about white men. And yet, those words, those ideals have become the hopes and aspirations for all of us and for the world. Now, it would hardly be the 4th of July weekend without some TV reruns of the movie Independence Day with Will Smith. I have to say that it's hard for me to believe that that movie was made back in 1996. That's more than almost 25 years ago. That's probably before some of you were born. But more recently, back in 2016, Will Smith was on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and they were talking about racism. The Black Lives Matter movement had begun after the murder of Trayvon Martin. And Stephen Colbert was asking Will Smith if he thought that racism was getting worse in America. Well, Will Smith disagreed. He said, racism isn't getting worse. It's just getting filmed. How profound and prophetic those words would be in light of the filming of George Floyd's death and its impact on the movement for racial justice. The gospel passage today about weariness and burdens brought to mind for me the song Old Man River from the musical Showboat, about the weariness and burdens of racism and slavery. Showboat was the first musical to deal with the topic of race back in 1927. The song Old Man River has endured for more than 90 years and been inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. There's an old man called Mississippi. That's the old man I'd like to be. What does he care if the world's got trouble? What does he care if the land ain't free? Old Man River, that old man river. He must know something, but he don't say nothing. He just keeps rolling. He just keeps rolling along. You and me, we sweat and strain, body all aching and racked with pain. Tote that barge, lift that bale. You show a little grit and you lands in jail. I gets weary and sick of trying. I'm tired of living and scared of dying. But Old Man River, he just keeps rolling along. Colored folks work on the Mississippi. Colored folks work while the white folks play, pulling those boats from dawn to sunset, getting no rest till the judgment day. Don't look up, don't look down, don't dare make the white boss frown. Bend your knee and bow your head and pull that rope until you're dead. Old Man River, that old man river, he must know something, but he don't say nothing. He just keeps rolling. He just keeps rolling along. When Jesus speaks to the crowds, he says, "To what will I compare this generation?" He's asking the same of us, of our generation, of our society today. He says, we played the flute and you wouldn't dance. We wailed and you wouldn't mourn. You didn't pay any attention. You were indifferent, apathetic, unmoved. Like that river, you just kept rolling along. Well, the truth of systemic racism has been exposed today like never before. And it's almost unbearable to watch. And of course, what is so painful is not just the suffering of our sisters and brothers, but our own often unknowing and unwanted complicity in it. If you're like me, you can feel helpless, a little like a pebble in that mighty river. How can we change its course? I'm afraid that we can be like the wise and intelligent Jesus talks about. We are pretty adept at denial, at making excuses, at sidestepping responsibility and avoiding the truth. Jesus says that it is to infants, those who are poor, oppressed, marginalized, and persecuted, to whom God has revealed the truth. And so it is to them we must listen. And it is with them we must stand. Jesus calls us to lay down our burdens, the divisions and corruption and injustice that deaden and defeat us as a society, to rest from the treadmill of power and privilege that drive and enslave us. Instead, Jesus invites us to take on his yoke. Our understanding of that image of a yoke has often been one of Jesus helping us lift and carry our load. We love that picture of the footprints in the sand and Jesus carrying us when we can't go on. And indeed, he does. That is a comfort to us. But today, that image of yoke is also a challenge for us. It is a call for us to take on and carry Jesus' work. He tells us to learn from him and walk joined to him. The yoke that we carry with him is one of justice and mercy and loving kindness. Jesus is lifting the burden of injustice and oppression suffered by our sisters and brothers of color by calling us to help lift them up with him. Now, when he says that his yoke is easy and his burden is light, he doesn't mean that there isn't any work to do or that it doesn't demand a lot of us. But it is work that is light and easy because it is energizing and empowering and renewing. It is our greatest purpose and our deepest fulfillment. It is freeing and life-giving, not just for those we support, but for our own souls as well. That song, Old Man River, has one last verse that goes like this. Let me go away from the Mississippi. Let me go away from the white man boss. Show me that stream called the River Jordan. That's the stream that I long to cross. So let us stop just rolling along. Let us lay down our sense of powerlessness and that we don't have any role to play. Let us let go of any sense of superiority or privilege. Let us change course and cross the River Jordan into God's promised land and work together to build a world where every nation is truly one of liberty and justice for all.